Good evening, I'm Ian Hanomansing. Tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays find a temporary home and begin a shortened season.
I guess this is just a bit of a reminder, what the game is all about.
We look at fan reaction as more leagues reopen.
There's been so much change, so much uncertainty.
While awaiting final back-to-school plans, the impact on teachers, parents, and students.
What we've already seen is a fairly unprecedented.
What's behind the new tensions between the U.S. and China? And a plot twist for the world's longest-running soap opera.
We actually cross over into the reality of the world we live in.
It's Corey in the time of COVID. This is The National. Parts of normal Canadian life have been restored in recent weeks, though one area that's lagged is pro sports. COVID-19 shutting down our favorite teams until now. NHL hockey is now just days away from restarting, with the added bonus of 2 Canadian hubs hosting every single game. Today, officials outlined plans to keep players safe. And after Dr. Anthony Fauci threw Major League Baseball's opening pitch, tonight the Toronto Blue Jays began their 2020 season. And we start our coverage tonight with the Jays. They opened on the road in Tampa, Florida, but not before making big news about the city they'll be calling home this season. Farah Morali is up first tonight.
And we are underway at the Trop.
This is the moment Blue Jays fans have been waiting for months.
Super happy to be here.
Fans filled a small Toronto patio to take in opening night at a pub right by the Rogers Centre, where the Jays typically play. But this season is anything but typical.
Oh, that one's ripped.
Until this morning, the Jays didn't have a home. The federal government rejected the club's plan to play in Toronto, citing concerns over players traveling back and forth to the U.S. Today, a solution. For 2020, home will be Buffalo's Salient Field. It's where their AAA affiliate plays, a minor league field that'll need some quick major league upgrades. But even then, it will be an adjustment for players.
There's certainly a level of disappointment, I think, for everybody. It's going to be a totally different environment for these guys to play in, and Major League Baseball is trying to get creative with a few different things with that. They're piping in crowd noise.
That fake crowd noise is because fans aren't allowed in stadiums at all. So some are getting creative when it comes to ways to bring the stadium experience home. Like delivering game day hot dogs to fans.
What's better than a hot dog in a ball game?
Baseball always brings you home. A pair of fans from London, Ontario even wrote this song to rally fans. It's being played on radio stations across the country tonight.
I guess this is just a bit of a reminder about, what the game is all about.
They can get that good feeling without the game.
It's all building momentum.
It's very strange to know that there won't be a game on Canadian soil since, the Jays started in 1977. At the same time, I kind of like the underdog mentality, whether the team becomes the Road Warriors.
Biggio hammers one right field. Down the line, it is gone.
Whether the Road Warriors can become road champions, we'll see soon. The usual 162-game season is just 60 this year. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Hockey and basketball resume next week. Like baseball, no fans in the stands, but unlike the MLB, there's also no travel. All of the NBA and NHL games will be played in fixed locations, making for some challenging logistics. Jamie Strachan looks at how the NHL sees that working.
No more practice. The NHL is ready for the real thing.
This is going to be an unusual, to say the least, endeavor. It will be challenging at times.
24 teams, 12 in Edmonton, 12 in Toronto, will begin arriving this weekend for a 3-month stay.
Leaving the bubble is just not something that we can tolerate.
The team's coaches, support staff, and league officials will live and play in these so-called bubbles, physically separated by high fences from the public. Inside, teams competing on the ice will share the same hotels, recreation facilities, and about a dozen restaurants in each bubble. Keeping everyone safe from COVID will not be easy.
We don't expect it to be perfect. We expect with a number of people that we're going to have some positive tests.
The league's medical director insists that positive tests will not derail things for the NHL.
We still will do contact tracing because there's degrees of exposure, and if we feel a degree of exposure is unusually high, they still may be quarantined.
If players are uncomfortable competing, they can choose not to play.
The one thing we cannot do with players is put masks on them when they play, but we're mitigating that risk by doing testing on a daily basis.
In the last 3 weeks, the league's 800 players have been tested twice a day, with only 2 positive results. The games on the ice, up to 3 a day in each city, will be the same as ever. No special COVID rules to limit contact.
We have no fans here, so we are able to walk around an arena like this and find the perfect, most ideal positions for every single one of our cameras.
Fans watching will notice up to a dozen additional cameras.
We could bring our fans right inside the game, down low, show the speed, hear the sounds.
If the NHL can hold this all together, one team will hoist the Stanley Cup in October. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, one major Canadian sporting event that will not survive COVID-19 this year is the 2020 Formula One Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. It's been cancelled. Originally set for June, the hope had been to run it Thanksgiving weekend, but F1 officials decided transporting cars to North America for one race with no spectators was not worth the expense. Time is running out to plan and prepare for school in September, and not just in Canada. Top U.S. health official Anthony Fauci acknowledging to the Washington Post today that we're all still learning about how COVID-19 behaves in children.
As a group, do they spread? Do they get antibodies? What's the in-family spread or not? We started a study on May 1st. We'll get some answers by December of this year.
Fauci also cited a recent study on the subject suggesting children under 10 spread the virus at about half the rate of adults, but children 10 and over spread COVID just like adults. This is a risk that provinces are trying to manage. BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia have already published plans for a full return to the classroom. Ontario has been considering a range of options. Its plan expected next week. And Deanna Sumanak-Johnson shows us how school boards and teachers are scrambling to prepare for all possible scenarios.
After a trying spring, this teacher and e-learning expert has been interviewing her fellow Ontario teachers about their experiences for an academic study. What she's hearing is frustration.
They can't plan for September. They can't plan psychologically in terms of figuring out what risk they're going to assume when they walk into that classroom, provided we're walking back into that classroom.
She says that big unknown is putting stress on educators. Some provinces have already made the call to send students back to classrooms, but in Ontario, school boards are still preparing for 3 scenarios: full-time in-person classes, part-time in-person classes combined with e-learning, or entirely remote learning.
There's been so much change, so much uncertainty.
This school board chair says that while she understands Ontario's wait-and-see approach, it's putting educators in a tough spot.
We continuously have an experience where the ministry is telling us that information will be forthcoming and then it does not.
School boards across Ontario are submitting their plans to the province for approval, but educators all know there's another group they'll have to please: parents. Many would like to see their kids back to school full-time if it's safe. But if it winds up being e-learning, it has to get better, says this parent.
Even between the teachers, there was just so much disparity in terms of the types of assignments, the volume of assignments that they would give.
School boards say they're factoring in the parents' feedback, but Behan Farhadi hopes all sides listen to the teachers too.
I worry about teacher retention. They're going to feel demotivated, and they're going to feel like they're in an impossible position.
While the stress will likely continue, some of the uncertainty should be gone by next week, when Ontario's education minister is slated to announce the plan for September. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Federal health officials are watching with concern as the number of new daily COVID cases trends upwards, and as people under the age of 40 accounted for 60% of new cases this week.
So I must urge all Canadians, particularly younger adults, to not give into COVID-19 fatigue.
In Ontario, where today restrictions eased further in a number of regions, 195 new COVID cases were reported. 66% of them were people under the age of 40. Quebec adding 163 cases, an increase over the last couple of days. Alberta with an additional 111. It's been in the triple digits for a week now. A big part of containing this virus is knowing when you've been exposed. And as Jacqueline Hansen explains, that can be particularly tricky when it comes to air travel.
Slowly, some travelers are returning to Canadian airports, but the threat of COVID-19 remains. In March, the number of flights that carried someone who later tested positive for the virus peaked. But even now, with more screening and far fewer planes in the air, cases are still popping up. Today, the Public Health Agency of Canada said risk of in-flight transmission of COVID-19 on board an aircraft is relatively low. But this infection control epidemiologist wants more data to back that up.
We might think that airplanes are a little bit less risky than they look, but we're guessing.
He also takes issue with how potential exposure is tracked. The federal government posts flights with confirmed cases on its website, but critics say that's not enough.
It's nonsense to post things on a website somewhere and expect people to wander over and find that.
We're going to have to do some safety checks, so that will be...
Some provincial and local health authorities say they also request flight manifest information and try to contact passengers directly. There is some hope that when the national tracing app launches, it may help.
I think most passengers will be very happy to provide that data just to be on the safe side. So we're hoping that application will come out as soon as possible.
But the NDP health critic says more needs to be done now.
Testing and contact tracing are critical to us getting a good handle on the COVID pandemic. And frankly, in the airline industry, it appears that it's not being done at all.
He wants the federal government to implement a proactive contact tracing plan for all air passengers.
Particularly as we're opening up airlines to fly into other affected areas like the U.S., it's critical that we close this gap right away.
For now, travelers who choose to fly should add checking the government's website to their plans. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
An outside investigation will dig into claims of bullying and harassment in the office of the Governor General. But as Ashley Burke tells us, while that's a relief to those who came forward, it's a sign of how vulnerable workers at Rideau Hall have been.
Rideau Hall may be quiet now, but soon employees will be talking to outside investigators about what it's like to work inside these walls. 16 sources now accuse the Governor General Julie Payette of belittling, berating, and publicly humiliating employees. Multiple sources, including former employees, say they're relieved the Privy Council office is hiring a third party for an external review. They want to be part of it after staying silent so long. Payette's second-in-command and longtime friend, Assunta De Lorenzo, is also accused of bullying and calling employees lazy and incompetent.
These stories are extremely saddening. It's very important that anyone who has experienced harassment in the workplace in that setting or any other setting needs to be fully able to tell their story.
Canada's employment minister said the independent review should include as many current and past employees as possible.
I would absolutely encourage them to be incredibly broad.
One workplace harassment expert says the problems at Rideau Hall shouldn't have gone on this long and shows the complaint system is flawed.
An organization like this, of this caliber, should have a long time ago evaluated how they could improve their process.
Sources said concerns to HR and the Ombudsman all circled back to De Lorenzo and went nowhere. These harassment claims span the past 3 years, Payette's entire mandate. That could make this review complex and lengthy. In a tweet last night, the Governor General said she takes workplace harassment issues very seriously and not only welcomes the review, but says she requested it. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The leader of the opposition wants both the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister gone over their dealings with the We charity.
That is precisely the reason why these two individuals need to do the right thing and step aside for the good of the country. We are in an unprecedented crisis. They chose to use this pandemic as cover for their actions.
Andrew Scheer says Justin Trudeau and Bill Morneau's granting of a $900 million contract to We when their families had received money from the organization is in essence a fireable offense. But he says any decision to try to trigger an election will be up to his successor. Back to the COVID-19 pandemic now. A troubling new global record was set today for infections. The World Health Organization reported an increase of more than 284,000 cases in a single day. The biggest jumps were in South Africa, India, Brazil, and the United States, where the average over the past 7 days is 65,000 new cases daily. As Salima Shivji tells us, this week seems to have served as a wake-up call for Donald Trump, whether the motivation is public health or politics.
Thank you. We've had a tremendous week.
It was the most dramatic reversal in a week full of them.
We have to be vigilant. We have to be careful. And we also have to set an example. Everybody smile now.
A president not known for setting an example on masks or social distancing, who loves playing to a crowd. But Donald Trump has now canceled one of the marquee election events of the year. The Republican National Convention was to have been in Florida, a COVID hotspot.
Well, there's nothing more crowded than a convention. I mean, you've seen them.
But no longer, after this from local elected officials.
I am compelled to express my significant concerns with the viability of this event.
This week, with the return of the virus briefings, came a president alone but more subdued, backing down slightly.
I have the mask right here. I carry it, and I will use it.
On masks.
Whether you like the mask or not, they have an impact, they'll have an effect, and we need everything we can get.
And on his push for schools to reopen fast, a softening.
Districts may need to delay reopening for a few weeks, and that's possible.
The White House sees the briefings as smart strategy.
You've got the best messenger, the duly elected president of the United States, talking directly to the American people and getting extraordinary ratings.
A play for ratings in a numbers game. Not necessarily these infection numbers still rising at an alarming rate, but these ones. Multiple polls that show Trump trailing Joe Biden by double digits, in key swing states too. The message read in the numbers: stop ignoring the crisis and listen to the experts.
Have them in the Oval, get briefed every day on an action plan, just drive action, action, action.
With about 100 days until Election Day, the challenge for Trump's team is how long they can keep him relatively on message. A president who's wildly unpredictable. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Washington.
The presidential election also the backdrop for increasing hostility between Washington and Beijing. After the U.S. ordered a Chinese consulate closed, China retaliated, forcing the closure of a U.S. consulate there. Stephen D'Souza has more on the escalation.
A crowd gathered today outside the U.S. consulate in Chengdu after the Chinese government ordered it closed. In Houston, workers packed up the Chinese consulate. It was ordered closed earlier this week as both countries traded accusations of espionage. The sites, the latest flashpoints in the escalating tensions between the U.S. and China. China blames the U.S. for the deterioration, saying their order to close the U.S. consulate was a legitimate and necessary response to provocation.
The old paradigm of blind engagement with China simply won't get it done.
In recent months, the U.S. has ramped up its rhetoric against China. From the Secretary of State yesterday,
securing our freedoms from the Chinese Communist Party is the mission of our time,
to House Republicans using the pandemic to unravel the relationship between the two countries.
China's deception has directly led to Americans' deaths. China is no friend to the United States.
Patriotic messaging.
Experts say vilifying China plays into the president's nationalist re-election strategy.
What we've already seen is fairly unprecedented in terms of the diplomatic relationship between the U.S. and China.
He expects more U.S. aggression towards China in the coming months, and for China to respond, but not escalate.
They're reluctant to take drastic action because of the impending U.S. presidential election, a desire not to rally the U.S. political establishment behind Trump, and also just a reluctance to be seen as interfering or influencing the U.S. election.
He says neither side is looking for actual conflict, but when economic and military superpowers go head-to-head, there's always a danger that a miscalculation or accident could be disastrous. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
We have an update in the investigation of the downed Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. Ukraine's deputy foreign minister tweeting that the flight's transcript confirms illegal interference with the plane. A preliminary analysis of the black boxes was completed yesterday, but officials can't share specific details yet because of international law. The jet was shot down by the Iranian military in January. All 176 people on board were killed, including 57 Canadians. A development today in the case of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. In newly filed documents, her lawyers claim Donald Trump has poisoned the extradition proceedings. They want the case thrown out for abuse of process. Meng was arrested in December 2018 and has been under house arrest in her Vancouver homes. Her next court appearance is set for September.
Goal is to get Mr. Doucette to come out of the woods, surrender to us, and we hope for a peaceful resolution.
Police in Nova Scotia have been searching for 31-year-old Tobias Doucette since Monday night. He allegedly assaulted his common-law spouse, stabbed a police officer and a police dog. Anyone who has any information is being asked to contact the RCMP. And a cyclist was killed today after a violent rollover north of Toronto. Police say an officer was watching for speeders in the area when a car raced through. The officer chased the driver and found it had crashed with the bicycle. The driver was arrested and Ontario's police watchdog is investigating. Two First Nations brothers are suing the Ontario Provincial Police.
I didn't struggle. I didn't try and fight him back.
Up next, a violent altercation caught on camera. Why they say racism is to blame. Plus, lessons from a lost Olympic Games.
And when that's taken away from you, it's really, really difficult.
What 1980 can tell us about 2020. An athlete shares her story. And the world's oldest soap opera returns to television.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Keep your distance now.
We go behind the scenes as Coronation Street adapts to COVID. We're back in 2. Two First Nations brothers have launched a lawsuit alleging Ontario provincial police officers racially profiled and violently assaulted them in 2018. Tonight, they're telling their story publicly for the first time. Jorge Barrera has that and the disturbing video of the confrontation.
I didn't struggle. I didn't try and fight him back. I let him do what he wanted to me.
Brothers Randall May and Aaron Keeshig still get emotional talking about what happened after Ontario provincial police officers suddenly showed up at May's front yard in Orillia in September 2018.
And he said that he got a complaint about some native man walking down the road, fell off his bike.
A family member pulled out a cell phone and recorded one of the officers shoving May into the bushes. Keeshig arrives and is soon taken down by a second officer. May said he was repeatedly punched and tasered by 2 officers.
I could hear myself screaming.
The brothers took photos of their injuries from the incident. Charges of resisting arrest and open liquor violations were either dropped or in one case, a conviction was overturned. Now, they're suing the OPP officers and the province. Their claims have not been tested in court.
If Randy was a white man, none of this would have happened.
The lawsuit alleges racism played a role.
It's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that a group of officers in broad daylight would attack a random Indigenous man for literally no reason.
The lawsuit also alleges the Ontario provincial police officers falsified notes to justify their actions. In a statement to CBC News, the OPP says a thorough internal investigation found the allegations unsubstantiated.
We're still at it. That's got to get past that point. Also, it'll always be the same.
The brothers say they hope their lawsuit will help balance the scales of justice that they say have been tipped against Indigenous people for too long. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Orillia, Ontario.
After the break, more on our top story. Major sports leagues making a comeback. Lots of fans are excited, but what about our doctors? We'll talk to the panel about measures to keep players safe. and later staying motivated and moving through the pandemic. The creative solution in one man's backyard. Welcome back. As we've been reporting, things are looking up for sports fans. The Major League Baseball season has begun. The NHL playoffs just 8 days away. But what about those COVID concerns? Joining us now from the two NHL hub cities, that is just a coincidence, infectious disease specialist Dr. Lenora Saxinger and Dr. Susie Hota. And Dr. Saxinger, let's begin with you. And you're in Edmonton. And how are you feeling about the safety measures the NHL has put into place?
You know, from what I know of them, I really think they've tried to find that balance between having something that's workable and as safe as possible. There had to be a few compromises, I think, in terms of the length of quarantine, because you can't really quarantine players for 14 days and then ask them to start playing aggressively. So they're kind of trying to find a reasonable middle ground with testing and really adherent use of bubbles and extra precautions before coming here. So I actually think it looks reasonable. I think it'll be a good test of whether it's possible to make this kind of endeavor safe, because I think they've designed it as well as possible.
Dr. Hota, strictly from a medical perspective, not from a sports fan perspective, let me ask you this. If a player or a staff member who's inside one of those bubbles tests positive in either Edmonton or Toronto, what would the implications be of that?
Well, I think that you'd have to approach that very much like you would in a higher risk setting, like a hospital or an institution where you can have potentially pretty rapid spread. I think one of the challenges that they can't really overcome is that the players can't be masked at all times, especially while playing. So if there is a positive case, you would have to pretty aggressively go into what we call contact tracing and try and find all those individuals who are in close contact with that person and potentially quarantine them depending on what that contact is like. So that's going to be really critical.
And what about the possibility of false positives? I guess that complicates how the reaction would take place.
Yes, I mean, I think that's always a concern, and that risk goes up as the prevalence or how common the disease is in the population is lower as it goes down. So there's always that possibility that there could be a false positive test result. But I think to be cautious, we probably want to deal with it as though it may be a true positive and act on it that way.
So, Dr. Hota, hockey is going on in Canada. Major League Baseball, on the other hand, won't be in Canada. We know the Blue Jays will have to stay in the United States, playing their home games in Buffalo. But just generally, as you consider what Major League Baseball is doing with team members going from city to city to city, obviously that, and in the United States, that presents a much higher level of infection risk.
Yes, that is a concern. I mean, thankfully here in Canada, we won't have to worry so much about that. But, for those players that are going from one area of the U.S. to another, I mean, there are vast differences in how much COVID is occurring in different parts of the U.S. So I think that would be a big concern of mine, is they could be traveling into areas of real high risk and then into other areas and potentially importing it into that area and of course, exposing themselves to that risk.
Dr. Saxinger, these sporting events are going to be on TV. Obviously, no fans in the stands, but a lot of us like to watch hockey games and other games in groups, backyards on a big screen at a pub. What concerns do you have about that?
Well, I think that we're seeing that transmission in the community right now. We're seeing a lot more outbreaks related to bars, restaurants, even patios, where they're trying to follow all the rules, and outbreaks related to backyard barbecues and garage parties. And so I think that just really, really reinforces those basics of the distancing, the outdoor spaces, masks if you're not eating and you're indoors. And I actually would say that I would vote for the large screen backyard and nicely spaced lawn chair option far above going to a pub, because I think that we're still trying to find out that kind of safest space where we can get some social interactivity without excess risk. And of course, the option of just watching it together and communicating over Zoom as you watch, or some other virtual manner of kind of bantering and watching together, would be the safest one of all, with takeout food.
One last sports-related question I'll ask each of you in maybe 30 seconds each, and that is about amateur sports, the kind of sports we might get involved in this summer. Dr. Saxinger, first to you, what should we be keeping in mind?
Well, I think that one of the big questions with sports have been that if there's an element of contact, is a brief contact, like less than 15 minutes, but if you bump into someone playing basketball and they exhale into your face, is that going to be a high-risk contact? And I don't think we have an answer to that. So I would suggest that people favor sports that are at a greater remove and you're less likely to have that face-to-face kind of exhalational contact. And I'm still very cautious about indoor sports in enclosed spaces because that's been shown to be a source of outbreaks because people's breathing kind of disperses more possible transmission droplets when you're breathing heavily in an enclosed space. So outdoors is best, and track and field would be excellent.
And I'm only laughing because I can't imagine myself being involved in any kind of track and field event. And Dr. Hoda, last word to you. What else should we keep in mind in terms of our own sports?
Well, I think a couple of things. I agree with all those things as well. And I think, you might want to consider just having a smaller pool of people that you're playing these sports with so that you're not exposing yourself and them to others. A large number of people being outside is always a great idea. And maybe keep them at pretty brief, short stints.
Great talking to both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And we continue to ask your questions about COVID-19 here on The National. You can send questions directly on Instagram at CBC The National or an email at covid@cbc.ca. COVID-19 has taken the lives of thousands of Canadians, and we've been telling some of their stories. Tonight, a son remembers a father who was devoted to family, his faith, and food.
My name is Harassment, and on May 2nd, 2020, my dad, Gurinder Singh Anand, passed away from COVID-19. He was 57 years old. For the past 30 years, Mom and Dad ran Resto Their Bar, an Indian restaurant on St. Laurent Street in the heart of Montreal. Dad dedicated much of his life to cooking and serving traditional Punjabi cuisine to the people of this city. He was an incredible chef. Dad moved to Canada with his family when he was a teenager. As the only 6 boys in the local high school, Dad and his brothers were constantly bullied for the way they looked. He would often tell me stories of them having to come home early from school because their turbans had been ripped off. There's this concept of seva in our faith, and what it essentially means is that as Sikhs, our purpose in life is to serve our communities and to serve them selflessly. When heavy rains caused severe flooding in the southern regions of Quebec, Dad packed up the van with our staff and showed up at this shelter to cook hot meals for families that had been forced out of their homes. Then when Montrealers flooded the streets of Quebec on a hot summer day to march for the environment, Dad almost immediately set up a table at the front of the restaurant and started serving cold water to marchers. Even in the midst of this pandemic, Dad was organizing his staff to make these boxes of butter chicken and naan and rice to serve to doctors and nurses working on the front lines in Montreal. Growing up, being able to spend the evening with Dad or have dinner with him at night was rare. And so when we decided to close the restaurant down in the early days of the pandemic, part of me was kind of excited. Unfortunately, the day I decided to come home was the day that he fell ill. You often hear people complain about the inconveniences that this pandemic has caused. I was one of those people that was complaining. But this pandemic has also given us this opportunity to pause and to look around us and to be grateful for the people in our lives. And I hope that Canadians across the country are seeing that and are taking advantage of this time.
Nearly 9,000 Canadians have died after contracting COVID-19, and we've gathered many of their stories online. You can find them at cbc.ca/remembered. When we come back, reflecting on the day that should have been, an athlete opens up decades later about the other missed Olympic Games, what it meant then and now. The last time Canada missed the Olympics was in 1980. It was one of several countries to boycott the Moscow Games over the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Many athletes hoping to compete were left feeling robbed. One of them was Diane Jones-Konahowski, and tonight she reflects on that disappointment.
My name is Diane Jones-Konahowski. I competed in the event of pentathlon. I was named to 3 Olympic teams.
Last week's takeover here seems to have cemented the Russian hold on Afghanistan.
It wasn't a surprise to the world that Russia invaded Afghanistan in 1979.
The 1980 Moscow Olympics are threatened with an American-led boycott over the Soviet presence in Afghanistan.
When we heard the announcement that the United States was boycotting the Moscow Games, at the time I felt very sorry for my compatriots from the United States. I couldn't believe that they weren't going to be in Moscow. And then about a month later, I got a call from a media person, and he asked me what I thought about Canada's decision.
We have decided that the circumstances leave us no choice but to urge the Canadian Olympic Association to inform the organizing committee for the 1980 Olympics that Canadian athletes will not be participating in the Games.
I didn't understand it, and I spoke out very loudly against it. For me, 1980 was my final games, my 3rd games. I was named to the team, but we didn't go. So psychologically and physically, I was very, very prepared to stand on the podium. And when that's taken away from you, it's really, really difficult because there's no closure to your career. You don't know if you could have done it or not.
This is her 3rd and last.
I wasn't going to hang around for another 4 years.
Look good.
I put my life on hold. I put on hold, buying a house, having children, starting a family, finding a real job, really. And so I was, disappointed hugely because this was it for me.
The Canadian Olympic Committee says Canadian athletes will be staying home this year.
Well, I could relate simply because the Olympics were taken away. Very, very different circumstance to what I went through. Mine was a political decision. This was more of a health decision. For the older athletes, I really feel for them. Although, maybe some of them will be able to hang on for another year if the Games do happen in 2021. No athlete wants to go to an Olympic Games unprepared. So they have to be able to have that time to train properly, to get to their peak so that they can show up in Tokyo whenever that may be and be at their best.
And a story breaking tonight from the sports world. Canadian Super Bowl champ Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is opting out of the NFL season because of the pandemic. He is the first player to do this. The offensive lineman, who has a medical degree, spent the summer working on the front lines of the fight against COVID-19. And in a statement, he said that if he's going to take any health risks, it will be to help patients. Has the pandemic left your kids climbing the walls? You may want to have them climbing monkey bars instead. So here's Andrew with what you should know about playgrounds.
I've got 2 young kids, and they have both sorely missed the playground. So with more of them reopening, what should you expect, and is it even safe to go back?
So the good news is it's outdoors, so that means automatically you have good ventilation.
Airflow, a big plus. The bad news, it is completely impractical to disinfect this structure after every use. So 2 things to keep in mind. 1, hand sanitizer. Doctors recommend that kids have clean hands when they arrive, before they leave, and also certainly before any snack that they eat, when kids will literally be putting their hands in their mouths. Also, another thing to consider, hand sanitizer works best when your hands aren't already dirty or greasy to begin with. So you can bring wipes or something as simple as a wet face cloth inside a resealable bag. You wipe first, then you sanitize. Another thing to consider, masks.
It's all just, a matter of how you want to balance the risk versus the inconvenience of wearing a mask, particularly for a child.
So on that, you be the judge. It will depend in part on how well your child tolerates wearing a mask to begin with. But maybe more importantly, it'll depend on how much community transmission there is where you live. It will be riskier in Toronto than it will be in, say, Moncton. But here's the most important consideration of all, the one that trumps all others. Your child's best defense against this coronavirus is going to be keeping physical distance from other people. If your kid can't keep 2 meters away from other kids, that's not good. So the fewer kids there are at the playground, the safer yours will be.
Still ahead, what happens when a fictional street runs into reality?
The staple of a good soap episode is a punch-up or a fight. Can't do that either at the moment.
The change is coming to Coronation Street as the show makes its pandemic debut. Ow. That's next.
You know that I'm always going to be there for you.
The first big American soap was back on the air this week. The Bold and the Beautiful resumed with temperature checks and physical distancing for cast and crew. And for those steamy scenes, real-life partners of the actors are standing in. And in Britain, TV viewers settled in tonight for a new episode of Coronation Street, the first since the pandemic lockdown. For Corrie fans in Canada, a spoiler alert, you won't be seeing this particular show for a few weeks. Here's Renee Filipponi.
For fans, so much remains familiar. But now, for the first time, with hand sanitizer and health signs decorating the set, the reality of COVID has come to fictional Weatherfield.
Whoa, 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 keep your distance now.
The beloved characters, like everyone else, have been forced to adapt.
It's one of the very, very rare occasions where we actually cross over into the reality of the world we live in as opposed to the reality we create in Coronation Street.
No. After 60 years, it's the longest running soap in the world. But the pandemic suddenly presents a new challenge. The Queen has visited the set and is believed to tune in herself. The producers say there was pressure to get this right.
There is one story which focuses around a character of ours that works in a healthcare setting that will be, that will more directly deal with coronavirus and the impact that has on people and on, health workers and their families.
The need for social distancing is a big concern. Filming resumed in June after being shut down for months. There are strict protocols on set with limited crew and no touching.
The staple of a good soap episode is a punch-up or a fight. Can't do that either at the moment.
Neither can you.
Creative editing and dummies are used to make it work. And romantic moments like weddings are a real challenge.
You may now kiss the bride moment. We played that mostly off audience reactions, so, tearful people in the congregation.
For safety reasons, actors over 70 aren't returning to set yet.
Thanks.
But for those who are, acting at a distance leaves some second-guessing their instincts.
Should I move or should I not move? And then you do feel quite stationary at the moment because you know that you can't really roam around the set like you would do as an actor.
Yeah, but that's the point. She's always singing about everyone else.
Yeah, well, that's the mum, innit?
For Ryan Russell's character, Michael, the anxiety of COVID gets real right away. His character's mother is a nurse working on the front line.
I'm worried about her. She's working so hard. She's doing so many shifts.
And while the pandemic has come to the soap, the classic dramatic storylines stay on course. But now, life on fictional Coronation Street looks a lot more real. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
Up next in our moment, finding new ways to move through the pandemic.
I haven't been in this great shape in quite a while.
A creative solution to COVID-19 restrictions. Well, it's not your average gym, but for Bill Gillette, it's his way of staying fit during this pandemic, transforming his backyard into a fitness playground. His goal is to give his community a place to stay fit, and that creative solution is our moment.
I decided to create this backyard fitness playground as a way to just keep moving. I love teaching. I love giving people something different to do, a great experience, and especially doing it outdoors. I just needed to do something, first of all, to have a project to work on, and even better if other people can benefit from it. You gotta get down and low to pull. You just have to find your technique. I just started building and then a lot of the stuff here is repurposed, either from the yard or Kijiji, or I just asked friends. It's all very simple apparatus, and I just made specific exercises out of it. I'm always telling people what to do. I love it. I can only have 2 or 3 people in the yard at a time. I have to find some way to encourage them just to try something new and different. I haven't been in this great shape in quite a while. As hard as this has all been, this part has been lovely, the project creation and the staying in shape and keeping moving. Like, you have to keep moving. That's the biggest thing that I teach people.
Of course, he's part of the 1%. And by that, I mean the 1% of Canadians who are actually fitter and thinner and stronger now than they were at the beginning of March. I'm trying really, really hard not to be envious. Although I got to say, if you tried buying gym equipment anytime in March, you can understand why, if you want to stay fit, you have to create some kind of makeshift gym in the backyard. That is the National for July 24th. I'll see you on Sunday. Good night.